Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back, Matthew Watty's channel. We are kind of counting down to the last video that I plan on making among these real chat videos. Again, I probably will continue on the real chats, but it's going to be different topics. You know, the stretch of videos I'm making as far as talking about military service videos, followed by the government overseas contracting videos. That portion of real chat is definitely going to be coming to an end shortly. So we're up to 2018 now. The last video we talked about Lockheed Martin, which ran from May 2016 until approximately October of 2017. Now, while I was actually in Afghanistan, in Bagram, I interviewed with Raytheon. Now, Raytheon, they're probably best known for their missile defense systems. A mortar goes up in the air and they use their phalanx systems or the rams or the C-ram systems to shoot out the missiles before it hits the ground, basically protecting assets and lives. So that's Raytheon's claim to fame, essentially, is the missile-guided system, weapons and whatnot. So it was a really awesome company to work for. I absolutely love Raytheon. When I interviewed with them in around September of 2017, and then I lost my job with Lockheed. They were about to write a letter of concern on me, which, as it turns out, had nothing to do with the military. They were going off of the recommendation of our supervisor, who was a complete joke of a leader. And that man tried for almost 2 years to get me and my buddy Jimmy, both of us who were qualified for the job, fired because he didn't like us, because we weren't part of his clique. And I talked about that in the last video. I'm not going to go much more into detail on that in this video, though. So I came home in October of 2017. And for a couple of months, I went hardcore trying to apply to jobs. And I just, nothing was biting. And I don't know. I think it was probably November time. I reached back out to who was it? I want to say it was HR or maybe one of the hiring specialists. I don't know who it was. I forgot her title, but I reached back out. I'm like, hey, am I still being considered for this job or not? And she responded, yes, you're gonna get your offer letter later on today. And I think I kind of wormed my way into working for Raytheon, because when I talked to the program manager during my interview, the interview went really well. We talked on the phone for almost an hour, but it's like one of those, hey, you'll hear back from us type of deal. Nothing was written in stone, nothing was guaranteed. I got no correspondence, emails, phone calls, anything like that following that. And even though I was home, I was back in Killeen, Texas. I heard nothing back. So when I kind of messaged them, I think I worded it in a way that made it seem like I was the person that they wanted to hire. And so when they sent me the offer letter, I jumped at that. Plus, like I said, Raytheon is one of those companies that before you even work for them, you already consider them to be one of the greatest companies ever. I loved I've never heard a bad thing about Raytheon. So, overseas contractors, you're dealing with Mantech, you're dealing with AC First, you're dealing with, who's part of AECOM. You deal with Raytheon guys, Oshkosh, Lockheed Martin, SAIC, who are other big ones? Dynacore, KBR. So you have all these major contracted defense companies out there, right? And I mean, there's so much more, man. I'm trying to think, who's the one with the sun? Was there a sun? I know there's more companies. I'm just trying to think of some of the big ones. It's gonna drive me nuts, but I can't remember all the companies. But anyways, you have all these major companies out there, and contractors talk. And, it's not always very positive. And Raytheon is probably the only company in my life where no matter how many people I have talked to that work for Raytheon, either currently or in the past, it's the only company that no one has ever bashed. That they never had anything other than positives to say about the company. And that is so freaking incredible. For that reason alone, I was dying to work for Raytheon. And for years, I'd been applying to that company with no regard, with no luck whatsoever as far as trying to get an interview or anything like that. So when I applied to the senior property administrator position and actually got an interview, an email back, and they want to set up an interview, I'm like, that right there is the first step. That's awesome. But I came home and like I said, I kind of wiggled my way into the company because I don't know. To this day, I don't even know if I was the person they wanted to hire or if it just so happens that I'm the one that reached out as a follow-up and so they decided to give it to me. Sometimes I feel like that's exactly what happened. If you talk to my boss, Scott, who was my supply manager over at Raytheon, you know, the man had no qualms about, you know, throwing the fact that he had a master's degree in my face at every turn. At that time, I had college, but no, I didn't graduate. Like, I probably had like 8 college courses or something. So, even to the day I left Raytheon, you know, he even flat out told me, I don't know how you ever got this job. Horrible leader. You would think that something like that, you know, a relatively soft-spoken man, you would think that he would be a good leader, a good person to be around, you know, someone that you would have trust for. But as much as I tried my hardest to respect him and to trust him and depend on him, he just proved time and time again that wasn't the case. He might go down as one of my least favorite leadership of all time. Lower than Darian, probably not, but you know, pretty low on the spectrum. Not a good supervisor by any stretch of the imagination, but I'll talk more about that briefly in a little bit. Let's see. I got an offer, and I was supposed to start work, I think, like the 4th of December. So I probably left Saturday the 2nd, and drove from Texas to Kentucky. Got to Kentucky around Sunday night, checked into a hotel. So, for like the first 2 weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks, Raytheon actually paid for my hotel stay because I was moving from out of state. Not only did they pay for my hotel stay, they also paid for my relocation. And you're talking about moving a 3-bedroom, multi-storied, 1,400 square foot house at company expense. The only requirements was I'd have to work for the company for a full year. Otherwise, I'd be responsible for paying those funds back. And that would come into play later on. Now, as I said, I know these videos, contracting videos, are supposed to be talking about overseas deployments. Raytheon was not an overseas deployment for me. It was in country, and it's why I moved to Kentucky in December of 2017. So, not only did they pay for my relocation, they also set me up with a company that helped sell my house. They also they set me up with a company that helped me buy my house here, and I got extra pay from the moving company. For moving expenses. I mean, the pay was fantastic. The pay was like $72,000 a year. And when I looked at that, I'm like, hold on a minute. As a government contractor overseas, I was making probably $9,000 a month, $10,000 a month sometimes. At $10,000 my highest pre-net pay. But probably around $7,000, $8,000 in general. So making $6,000 stateside. Now, for whatever reason, I was so fixated on the $72K that I didn't really factor in on multiple factors that were important. $72,000 is pre-net pay, so you're still paying taxes and insurance. What I didn't know for the longest time, why my pay was always so low, is because they were also taxing me on the move. Now, I wasn't paying them the $30,000 back, but they were taxing that $30,000. So that was making my pay a whole lot less. So every 4 weeks, I was supposed to get about $5,500, and I'm not looking at it as $5,500 over 4 weeks. I'm looking at it as $6,000 a month. For 12 months, $72,000. So I'm like, okay, I should be getting $6,000, which means after taxes and medical and everything, my net pay should be like $5,000. And my paychecks weren't even. Like, if you get a paycheck for, let's say you get paid $3,000 this paycheck, you should get paid $3,000 next paycheck. That's common, but like I would get paid like $3,400 this paycheck. Maybe I'd get paid like $2,700 the next paycheck. Then I'd get like $3,100, maybe $3,300. So the paychecks kept fluctuating. It was driving me nuts. I was a salaried employee. I could work 2 hours a week. I could work 100 hours a week. I was still going to get paid the exact same amount of money. So that was killing me. Once I talking to the finance department, finance office, learning that they were billing me taxes on the relocation. That's why my paycheck wasn't, so stable. That helped me understand a little bit. But still, man, I would love right now, especially with my VA benefits kicked in right now at full benefits, man. If I were to get a job at Raytheon again, you're looking at about, let's say, worst case scenario, $3,500 a month. $3,500 a month takes care of the mortgage and all the other household bills. And my VA was basically be bank money. And do that for a couple years, I'd probably have enough money to pay off my house. 2 years, 3 years max. I know it wouldn't happen because this collection here, I probably won't stop collecting, even though this room is full and I can't fit anything else in here. So maybe that would push me back, but theoretically that would be a possibility. So yeah, coming back to Kentucky after leaving my last job, Raytheon is really the only company I want to work for. I know the building I worked at. I'm familiar with the layout and everything, and I'm kind of familiar, every other Friday off, kind of like a smaller work day on Thursday. One Friday off, the next Friday you work 8 hours as opposed to the regular 9 hours. So kind of like a shortened day a little bit. Plus, I used to always get paid to make these scrap runs. So they got this container out in the back from teardown. All the metal and computers, equipment and shavings, stuff like that goes in there. And every month or every other month, every few months, I do a scrap run to like Bedford, Indiana. And, probably 40,000 pounds of scrap metal. And they Raytheon probably get like an $1,100 check or something for turning in that scrap metal. But, I get paid to basically be out of the office all day, making that scrap run. I get paid mileage. So that was like another $50 or something a day for gas, and they covered your lunch. Man, I freaking love Raytheon. You guys will never know how much I absolutely love that company, but the freaking boss made my job more difficult than it ever had to be. And this seems to be like and you guys can see when I talk to you, I'm a very easy, laid-back guy. If I see someone struggling, I'm going to ask them if they need help. If someone sees me, they don't ever have to be afraid to approach me. If they want to start a conversation or if they need help, they can ask me. I'll jump up and help them. So it's not like I've got a bad personality or I'm difficult to work with. It's just that the bosses, they tend to let the power get to their head. And I'm hoping the guys that watch this video, if they kind of do the same thing, that they could kind of look at themselves in the mirror, because it does make for a depressing work environment. And our office was full of a bunch of great people. I love going to work. I mean, it was actually, it's like school. You hate waking up in the morning and taking the bus to school and everything, but once you're actually physically in school, it's like, whatever, no biggie. It's just the thought of waking up and having to go. wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to catch the bus by 7. But Raytheon, it's like, you're waking up at like 5:45. I'm out of the house by like 6:05 so that I can get there by 6:30 in the morning. And that's another huge benefit. The work hours, 6:30 to 4 o'clock. And getting off of work at 4 o'clock. And if I'm walking out of the office at 3:55, I could get in my car and be off the driveway by about 4 p.m. And at that rate, I could probably be home by 4:25, 4:30. Getting home at 4:30 and knowing that I'm probably not going to go to bed until, let's say, 10, 5.5 hours to enjoy the rest of the day. That is so huge. Most of the time you're getting off work at like 6, maybe you're getting home like 6:30 or something. And, once you shower and you eat dinner, maybe you're having maybe an hour or two to yourself. So, or an hour or two spent with your wife or family, what have you. So, hours were fantastic. The pay was great. I mean, it could have been better, of course. I wasn't making the exact amount I'd like, but it was sufficient. Definitely livable. Your dentist and your health benefits, I mean, that crap was amazing. I think probably some of the best benefits. They cover most of the expense. No other company could even, I don't think any company could touch it. Raytheon really is one of those companies that gets one of my highest ratings. And probably among all the companies I've worked for, it probably does have my highest rating. I only worked for them for a year, though. My manager, because I didn't have a college degree, he always threw that in my face and always made me feel inferior, like I didn't deserve the job. And his comment about, I don't know how you got this job, it's because he wasn't the hiring manager. The program manager was the one who hired me. So maybe he took offense to that. I don't know. But I did my job. I did my job well. And the fact that I didn't have a degree, but I will give him this. Those comments over the year and that comment right at the end of my last day on the job really struck gold. If I want to talk about some of the most influential people in my life, he might be a complete asshole, but Scott was probably one of the biggest influences in my life. Because the second I left Raytheon, I went overseas back to Afghanistan, and I started working for AC First, which is a subcontractor of AECOM. And I started going to college, doing my college online. In 2 years, I want to say. So I started in January of 2019. And I started going to college in January 2019. I think I graduated with my bachelor's in October of 2020. And then I graduated with my master's in October of 2021. I got through about 6 courses or so of my doctorate's degree. But once my benefits ran out around May of 2022, that was it. I haven't gone back to school. And with me being retired right now, the doctorate's degree is nothing more than just for me to call myself a doctor. Getting a PhD right now doesn't do anything for me professionally. So, if I ever go back to a company like Raytheon and they pay for my college, I'll definitely try my best to complete that degree, because that is something I definitely want to do. Having those 2 letters in front of my name, that D and that R, man, means the world. So, one of the biggest assholes is one of my biggest influences. And I thought once I got those degrees, that once I came home, there is no way possible I could not get hired from Raytheon. I've already worked for the company, so I'm a past employee. I know the company well, and I got the degrees to boot. And with a master's, I should be looking at what Scott was doing. I should be not program manager, but I should be a property manager or something like that. It sucks that even with all these degrees, I still can't get hired by that company. I'm like, man. And so I kind of go back to what I was talking about before. What was I talking about? Oh, duh. So when I initially called back in like October 2017 or November 2017, asking if they were still going to hire me, I still feel like that I kind of tricked my way into it because maybe I wasn't even being considered at that time. But the fact that I reached out, that helped. So, where are we at? You know what? I was going to put this video and AECOM into one video, but at 20 plus minutes, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make AC first, its own video, and then I'm going to come back with Lockheed Martin in the next video, and then, yeah, I'll do an ACMA video. That's the last official contract and overseas company I work for, so, and that'll close out this chapter of the Real Chat videos, and until we start diving into other topics. I wanted to do more Real Chat videos, like 2 or 3 of them a week, but I guess these type of videos just kind of got in the way. I want to do like more reviews of like things that are going on, you know, viral videos, stuff like that, because that's always interesting to talk about. But if you guys are looking for, you know, a company to work for, if you're in like Arizona, Arizona has like one of the biggest facilities, so that's a great place to go. Obviously, I think Massachusetts has one, if I'm not mistaken. If not Massachusetts, it's gotta be one of those northern states. So maybe Connecticut, maybe New Hampshire, I don't know. But those are possible options. Kentucky, of course. So, you know, Raytheon, they're just all over the place. You can look at overseas contracting gigs, but I kind of feel like those are more catered towards in-house employees who sign up for contracting or overseas, and not necessarily new hires. But if you've got thick skin and you can stomach people being douches to you from time to time, you know, just quietly do your work, do your work on time, submit your reports on time. It was a great experience. I really enjoyed the work I did. I really thought that was when I moved to Kentucky and I got the job with Raytheon. I really thought that was it for me. That I was going to have that job for like the next 30 years until I retired. But things don't always work the way you plan. You hope, but it doesn't always work out. So disappointing to have lost Raytheon. Like I said, right now I'm retired, so if I might like apply to Raytheon every now and then, and if I get hired, I'll definitely take the job. But I think Raytheon is probably the only company at this point that I'd actually listen to. Now, if someone like Sam Carr or Tony Howell from like Lockheed Martin called me one day and be like, "Hey, I'm with Dynacore now. We're looking for contractors, you know, to run this warehouse or whatnot. Would you be interested?" Because I respect guys like Tony Howell, I'll definitely jump ship for that man. Yeah, I'll come back in that regard. But like, if just some random contacted me, I don't know, probably not. You know, you gotta show your loyalty towards the people that have done right by you, and you want to do right by them. So, Tony Howell, he was program manager for Lockheed Martin. He replaced Bull, who I talked about in a previous video, and I think Sam Carr replaced Tony Howell. Sam Carr well, we'll talk about all these guys later. These names aren't going to mean anything to anybody, not unless you've actually worked for the company before. But maybe these names, you know, look them up on Facebook or something, I don't know. Maybe LinkedIn or something. Try to get in contact with them. Be like, "Hey, I've heard about you, and you know, I'm interested in your company or something." You know, that might help. Who knows? Like I said, with Mantech, the way that my program manager referred me to their program manager with Lockheed, and that's basically all I had to do was call them up and be like, "Hey, this guy referred me, and I got the job for that." I mean, why not, right? So, all right, that's it for Raytheon. Huge benefits, but a lot of disappointment from the company. I'm not going to talk about a lot of the bad stuff. It all basically centers around that particular manager and one of my least favorite people. But we'll dive into the AC first afterwards in the next video. So, That is it for now, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching. Your viewership, your comments, your subscriptions, they do mean the world to me. So I really appreciate all this continued support. Thanks, everybody. I'll talk to you later.